right. Welcome to another edition of Shabbat Lounge. This is Matt.
And Jake here.
We are so glad to see you. Glad that you could be with us. And here we are at Sabbath Lounge.
That's right. So if you're new, go check out sabbathlounge.com. You're walking in on a part 3 of a series called The Seed War. So if you missed the first 2, check those out first, and then come on back to us and finish this out.
And I do apologize. Last week, I think maybe my mic was muted. Something was off with the audio. But anyway, have that normal. I do want to give a special shout out to, I guess we're going to say the unofficial sponsor of our show today. Not that we have a sponsor, but this is Next Level Solutions, HVAC. And so this is owned by one of our people in our Torah fellowship. And if you are in the DFW area and you have air conditioning work, call these guys and they can help you.
That's right.
So, it's starting to get hot out there. Today was 100 here, and tomorrow's supposed to be 102. So if you turn on that air conditioner, it doesn't work, call these guys.
That's right. So, and any of you who have followed us for a little while, you'll recognize the name from some of the comments. So
yeah. And he doesn't work Shabbat since he's a Torah follower. So good news on that. We just wanted to give him a unprompted plug. There you go. Next Level Solutions. All right, so now we need to get back to what we're doing. What are we doing, Jake?
No one really knows, Matt. But we are talking about the Seed War, and it's in this part, it looks like we're talking about the conquest of Tyre. So a lot of names of cities and things and countries crop up a lot, and so this is one that we're kind of tracking down to show kind of the continuity from the beginning of Scripture all the way to the end. And it's going to show in the first one, we kind of went through the different people groups and where they come from. And then we're building on that. Pardon me. And then this one, we're going to go into a lot of other things.
Yeah. And it all kind of started with just exploring some prophecy that you see about Egypt and about Tyre, and trying to figure out if those things have been determined yet. And so did the course of this or the end of this, let us know what you think. We had some good comments last week. Some folks starting to see connections in Revelation, and we definitely will get to that as we go forward. And we said part 4, but this may be actually part 5. But anyway, we say don't take our word for it. Look at these scriptures, study it for yourself, see what you think. So, and this will all be available on our website, sabbathlounge.com, and it'll be a PDF. And we also list all the sources. Somebody did ask a good question last week. They asked, how did we determine the thing about Esau marrying a giantess? And that comes, I can tell you, it comes from Gary Wayne and the Genesis 6 conspiracy. I believe it's in book part 2. And also Gary Wayne has been making the rounds. He's been on all kinds of people here recently, and he's talked about it a couple of times, but that's kind of where that came from. And it may not be Esau directly, but maybe a close descendant of his marries the giantess. But anyway,
I think a couple of things that we had talked about regarding that was that if all these people groups that are known giants came from Esau, then that has to be in the lineage somewhere. And Esau obviously goes back to Abraham. So we could either say Abraham had giant DNA going on, which seems doubtful. And then you see some of the people that some of the wives that he marries are from these different people groups that eventually become known for their giantness. So
yeah,
I think there's some precedent in Scripture. It doesn't specifically say exactly, I don't think, but I think you can see the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big jump for sure. So anyway, those are all good questions. We appreciate those. Keep them coming, please. All right, so this is part 3, and so we'll just jump right into it, although we've been talking for a few minutes. So this is Joshua 13, and so we'll take a look at this, and it says, Joshua was old near the end of his life, so Yahweh said to him, you're old near the end of your life, and there's a lot of land left to be conquered. The land that is left includes all the districts that belong to the Philistines in Geshur. It extends from the Shihor River east of Egypt northward as far as the border of Ekron. This is considered to be Canaanite territory, even though there are 5 Philistine rulers over Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, Ekron, as well as the Aviim people in the south. This territory includes the land of the Canaanites as well as the Marah, which belongs to Sidon as far as Aphek, the Amorite border. It also includes the land of the other people, Jabal, all of Lebanon, eastward from Baal Gad to the foot of Mount Hermon, to the border of Hamath. I will force out of the way of the people of Israel everyone who lives in the mountains, from Lebanon to Mishroth, Murray, Miami. Looks like Miami.
Nailed it.
And all the people of Sidon. However, you must distribute the land as an inheritance to all of Israel by drawing lots, as I commanded you. So divide this land will be an inheritance to the 9 tribes and the half tribe of Manasseh. So some interesting things here. You see Tyre and Sidon mentioned. You would see the Canaanites. Anytime you see Baal in people's names, you kind of you know who they are and what they like.
Right.
So it's like seeing Muhammad today. By the way, fun fact, I don't know if it's a fun fact, but somebody said today that in Germany, the number 1 baby name for last year was Muhammad.
I think it's the same in England.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. So,
yeah.
Anyway, same kind of deal, though. So, when you see that name, you know exactly who they are,
what team they're on.
Yep. And then when in so many characters in the Torah, in the Bible, will have a Baal in their name, or in this case, it's a place.
Right. And similar, if you're kind of new to the calling Yahweh by his name, or Yahuwah, if you say it that way, you start noticing that most of the important people in scripture, that name Yah is attached to it. So like Joshua, it's Yahshua. So similar to Isaiah is Isaiah. It's kind of right in there. So anyway, yeah. So similar to the way Baal gets tied to his people, basically. And then additionally here you have, they're at the foot of Mount Hermon.
Yeah, definitely a bad thing, typically. Good things didn't happen there. And if you're not familiar with that, I recommend going back to the old late great Rob Skiba, may he rest in peace. He talked a lot about Mount Hermon and the incursion that happened there. So anyway, and Mount Hermon today, I believe, does it have a telescope? Or
there's something like that there.
A big antenna array.
There's like an observatory there.
And maybe the UN owns it or something. It's all kind of creepy. So anyway, all right, Jake, 2 Samuel 24, 4-9.
However, the king overruled Joab and the commanders of the army, so they left the king in order to count the people of Israel. They crossed the Jordan River and camped at Eror, south of the city in the middle of the valley. Then they went to Gad and Jazer. They went to Gilead and to Tadim, Hodshi, and then to Dan Jan and around toward Sidon. They went to the fortified city of Tyre and all the cities of the Hivites and the Canaanites. Then they went to Beersheba in the Negev of Judah. When they had covered the whole country, they came to Jerusalem after 9 months and 20 days. Joab reported the census figures to the king, and in Israel, there were 800,000 able-bodied men who could serve in the army, and in Judah, there were 500,000.
All right. So, once again, we're pointing out the times when Tyre and Sidon have been mentioned. And we continue 1 Kings 5, 1 through 9. King Hiram of Tyre sent his officials to Solomon when he heard that Solomon had been anointed king to succeed his father. Hiram had always been David's friend. Solomon went to Hiram by saying, "You know that my father David was surrounded by war. He couldn't build a temple for the name of Yahweh our Elohim until Yahweh led him defeat his enemies. But Yahweh my Elohim has surrounded me with peace. I have no rival and no trouble. Now I'm thinking of building a temple for the name of Yahweh my Elohim, as Yahweh spoke to my father David. Your son, whom I will put on your throne to succeed you, will build a temple for my name. So order men to cut down cedars from Lebanon for me. My workers will work with your workers. I will pay you whatever wages you ask for your workers. You know that we don't have any skilled lumberjacks like those from Sidon." So it's interesting. So some people might say, how can you connect Tyre and Sidon? Well, this one particular scripture connects it quite well, because at the beginning it says Hiram of Tyre, and then he talks here about having lumberjacks from Sidon. So I don't think you use these two. Typically, if you talked about Tyre, you're talking about Sidon. You didn't really separate them. They're like sister cities, twin cities, if you will.
Right. And so, yeah, Sidon had the skilled lumberjacks, and they were after logs.
Yeah. And then continue.
Okay, Hiram was very glad to hear what Solomon had said. Hiram responded, "May Yahweh be praised today. He has given David a wise son to rule this great nation." Hiram sent men to Solomon to say, "I've received the message you sent me. I will do everything you want in regard to the cedar and cypress logs. My workers will bring logs from Lebanon to the sea, and I will have them make them into rafts to go by sea to any place you specify. There I will have them taken apart, and you can use them. You can pay me by providing food for my palace."
Okay.
Oh, and then 2 Chronicles 2:3. Solomon sent word to King Hiram of Tyre by saying, "Do what you did for my father David. You sent him cedar so that he could build a palace to live in."
Okay. Definitely a connection to the temple. And then,
yeah, and it's not like Hiram is not a very well-known biblical character also, so he has a big hand in helping Solomon build this temple.
Yeah. And unfortunately, too, the Freemasons use his name and, for other things. So 1 Kings 16:31, it wasn't enough that he committed the same sins as Jeroboam. He also married Jezebel, daughter of King Ethabal of Sidon. Ahab then served and worshipped Baal. I mean, that's like, no coincidence. You marry a girl who is the daughter of King Ethabal, Baal of Sidon, and you got the name says it all.
Yeah, this is the one of the warnings of the Balak and Balaam story.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go mingling with them folk, because they bring their false god worship in and sour you.
Yeah. You don't often go into the seedy environment and
come out cleaner
and influence it for good. It's not like you go into the seedy nightclub and all of a sudden
we're taking Jesus into the nightclub. Yeah. Okay, these people need Jesus.
Yeah, boy, do they! And it gets better because you were there.
I wasn't looking.
Yeah.
I was standing in the corner preaching.
That's right. That would be pretty amazing if it worked that way. But maybe one day. But so far, I haven't heard many stories of people walking into places and just changing the whole thing, and next thing you know, they're breaking down, praising God.
Right.
So that'd be cool. I'd be fine to see that, but I don't recommend trying it. Then Nebuchadnezzar conquers the mainland of Tyre and lays it to waste. Alexander the Great picks up the rubble and then throws it into the sea to build a causeway to the island of Tyre. The Muslims come in later and destroy what's left. So modern day Tyre, there are 200,000 people that live there today. So, one of the questions we have is, did Tyre, there's some prophecy where it's supposed to disappear. Egypt is also supposed to disappear. And can we say those things have disappeared? It kind of depends on who you talk to, I think. And, if you're amillennial, premillennial, all these different labels people want to put on things. I don't like to get lost in those weeds too much, but anyway, that's kind of what I'm saying here. So we'll look a little bit more at that. And if you're not familiar with this story, it's a really cool piece of history. Mm-hmm. So you can look at this in 322 BC, if you believe the dating of that. But long time ago, this was a true island sitting off here by itself. And so, it all started. Nebuchadnezzar did do a lot of damage, and there was a bunch of rubble here. And but the city, this little island over here, one thing you learn in Nation Building 101 in 5th grade in Mr. Cook's class back in the day is if you want to create a colony or have your own nation, one of the things you need is a good defense. Well, pretty good defense when you're an island surrounded by water on all 4 sides makes it harder to be conquered.
Right.
So, they got to come by ship. They don't have long-range missiles. And so they got to get up close and personal. You got lots of time. You can see them coming typically on an island because you're higher than the ocean. And you can see this stuff happening before it gets there. You got time to build fortifications. And they did. And so it was very difficult. But they literally took the rubble that was left from Nebuchadnezzar's battle that he had, and they just started building a road just by pure brute force and picking up the rubble and throwing it into the water until they built a place you could walk across dry land. So,
yep. And so this is, I've mentioned this before on this, on our channel here, but, one of the, we watched this, boat show about, different historical boat types and things like that. And one of them mentioned this scenario here, this time frame. So when Alexander is building this causeway across, Tyre is sending ships at them.
Yeah, the whole time.
But no one's on the ship. It's just a long pole with fire on it. And they're sending these basically...
like a fire missile?
Kind of like a
slow fire missile?
Yep. And that was, I think, one of the first times that kind of attack was used was there. And they had it kind of set up so when it rammed into the wall they were building, the fire would fall into the boat and catch everything on fire, and then the whole thing would be just this big flaming mess.
And if I'm not mistaken, it took them a minute. It's not like they did this in 12 hours.
Right.
You don't do that kind of thing in 12 hours,
yeah,
especially.
They see them coming.
Yeah. And so so it's a quite an engineering feat. And the Romans knew a thing about building roads, and they applied a lot of those building techniques into building this causeway. In fact, the causeway still stands. So, which is quite a testimony to that, with the pounding of the ocean there. That's pretty amazing. But it also kind of helped trap debris and sediment. So I think that helped it stand the test of time too. But
yeah, a filter just gets more efficient as it gets dirty, right?
Yeah.
It might burn up your pump, but there's no pump here, so we're good to go.
That's right. So let's look at what was prophesied. So there is some prophecy about all this, and we'll look at Isaiah 23.
All right. When the news reaches Egypt, the Egyptians will shudder over the news about Tyre. Travel to Tarshish. Cry loudly, you inhabitants of the sea coast. Is this your bustling city founded in the distant past? Is this the city that sent its people to settle in distant lands? Who planned such a thing against Tyre, the city that that produced kings. Its merchants are princes. Its traders are among the honored people of the world. Yahweh Sabaoth planned this in order to dishonor all arrogant people and humiliate all the honored people of the world.
So definitely it implies some bad things are going to happen to Tyre and to Egypt because, the Egyptians shudder when they hear about what happened to Tyre.
Right. So, and as Matt and I had discussed too, like, so where in time was there a Tyre's being attacked, and then also whoever is attacking Tyre kind of also is going after Egypt, and that would be Alexander, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of fits that timeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we'll continue. Isaiah 23 continues to travel through your country like the Nile, people of Tarshish. You no longer have a harbor. Yahweh has stretched his hand over the sea to shake kingdoms. He commanded that Canaan's fortifications be destroyed. He says, you will no longer be joyful, my dear abused people, Sidon. Get up and travel to Cyprus. Even there you will find no rest. Look at the land of the land of the Babylonians. These people will be gone. Assyria gave this land to the desert animals. Assyria set up battle towers, stripped palaces bare, and turned these places into ruins.
Right. And then Assyria is one of these places that crops up again end times.
Yeah.
So and then it's tied in here with Sidon.
Mm-hmm.
Cry loudly, you ships of Tarshish, because your fortress will be destroyed. When that day comes, Tyre will be forgotten for 70 years, the lifetime of one king. At the end of the 70 years, Tyre will be like the prostitute in this song. Take your lyre, go around in the city, you forgotten prostitute. Make sweet music, sing many songs so that you'll be remembered. At the end of 70 years, Yahweh will come to help Tyre. Then she will go back to earning money as a prostitute. She will become a prostitute for all the world's kingdoms. Her profits and her earnings will be turned over to Yahweh for his holy purpose. It won't be stored or hoarded. Her merchandise will belong to those who live in the presence of Yahweh so that they will have plenty of food and expensive clothing. This is real interesting. I think a lot of things come up here with, for one, you have these, ill-gotten gains, and Yahweh's like, I'll take your drug money and do good with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. And then what's cool is he gives it like an exact timeline, and then he, a lot of times we like to take the numbers and turn it into musical chairs and magical formulas. Here he's just saying 70 years, which is the lifetime of one king. So when you have, two or more things describing a thing, it kind of makes things more nailed down a little better. Like when he says forever throughout your generations, as a perpetual covenant, he got those three identifiers emphasizing what he's actually trying to say. So same here, 70 years, the lifetime of one king. So where we saw Tyre will be destroyed and Egypt will be shuddering over it, that looks like a situation that has already happened. And then Yahweh is saying that, yeah, and then for 70 years, that's going to be the effect. You'll be forgotten. And then he brings them back. Even the song here tells exactly, what's going to happen. When Tyre comes back into the picture, they're interested in doing the same exact thing that they started out with, because they want to be remembered. I think it's kind of like when you, and I know I'm kind of going on here about this, but like when you come to Yah and you recognize, all those things from my past I should be forgetting and, moving on towards Yahweh's path. I should be doing the teshuvah and pursuing his way. These guys are like, no, forget that. Yahweh saved me, but now I'm going to go back to my old ways. So This might even tie into a once saved, always saved principle here, because he saves them. I will come help you, and then you'll go back to doing what you did. So there's so much in here.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Well, and I think you can also make an argument that the number 70, that's an interesting number.
Right.
Often in our studies, our humble studies, we've come to the conclusion that 70 can represent kind of like a mixed multitude idea. So, which kind of makes sense.
It's like
nations.
Yeah, the every nation situation.
Then we'll go into Jeremiah 25:17 through 38. So I took the cup from Yahweh's hand. I made all the nations to whom Yahweh sent me drink from it. Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, as well as its kings and officials. When they drank from it, they became wasteland and ruins, something ridiculed and cursed until today. I also made these people drink from it. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, his servants, officials, all his people, all the foreign people living amongst them, all the kings in the land of Uz, all the kings of Philistia, those from the cities of Ashkelon, Gaza, Ekron, and the people left in Ashdod, Edom, Moab, and the people of Ammon, all the kings of Tyre and Sidon, all the kings on the seacoast, Dedan, Tema, Buz, and all those who shave the hair on their foreheads, aka eyebrows, possibly, all the kings of Arabia, all the kings of foreign people living in the desert, all the kings of Zeram, all the kings of Elam, all the kings of Media, all the kings, that's interesting, all the kings of the north, near and far, one after another, all the kingdoms of the earth. Last of all, the king of Shishak will drink from the cup. The Lord say to them, this is what Yahweh Tissaboth, the Elohim of Israel, says: drink, get drunk, vomit, fall down, and don't get up because of the wars that I'm going to send you.
You like when he says that to you. You want to be on that end of that.
Yeah. Well, so many names here, it's like, who are all these people? That goes back to what we talked about, that's like, why is this important? Because Jake and I even had that debate about, why do we want to study this? Well, clearly this stuff is interconnected, and the people that were the enemies in the land that weren't supposed to be there, these are some of their relatives and descendants.
Right. And when you're reading scripture, like before Torah, when you would read scripture and you'd look at Chronicles and
like
Kings
genealogy.
And you even like the buildup in Genesis of the different peoples and where they come from. It's very dry until you recognize, oh, wait a minute, this isn't just some part of the book that just ends up going away, and then now we're in the future. It's a cyclical story for a reason. And if you look at the part 1 of this series we talk a lot about a lot about where all these people and where they came from: Edom, Moab, Elam, and then back to Tyre and Sidon in there as well. So and then the kings of the Media. That's interesting, right?
Yeah, I know. That did make me pause. I was like, oh.
So that's probably like the Medo-Persian Empire situation that goes on there.
Yeah. Interesting. It continues.
But if they refuse to take the cup from your hand and drink from it, say to them, this is what Yahweh Sabaoth says: you must drink from it. I am going to bring disaster on the city that is named after me. Do you think you'll go unpunished? You will not go unpunished. I'm declaring war on all those who live on earth, declares Yahweh Sabaoth. That is why you will prophesy all these things to them and say, Yahweh roars from above. He thunders from his holy dwelling place. He roars against his land. He shouts like those who stomp grapes. He shouts against all those who live on earth. So anyone who stomped grapes know that you'll be shouting.
Always shouting. Yeah. Makes sense.
And the more you shout, the better the wine is afterwards. I think this is interesting too, how he's kind of giving, if they refuse to take the cup from your hand, then basically make them, right? So I think that's just kind of an interesting dynamic in this story that he's telling. They're going to drink this, whether they want to or not.
Yeah, you
And
don't have a choice.
Yeah,
They had free will. Did they?
they did to a point,
Yeah.
and then they squandered it, and now they will drink from this cup.
Yeah. Too late. The time has come, and it's also a side note. We've chased some of the things about the cup Messiah drank,
right,
and what that means. And so if you weren't sure, we came to the conclusion that's a cup of judgment that he drinks, and the cup of bitter waters. And this to me is a connected passage to that, because clearly, drinking the cup can be connected with judgment, because that's what you see here.
Yeah, and we just saw how all these people groups are likened to prostitutes.
Yeah.
And so that would kind of tie into the cup of bitter waters situation.
Mm-hmm. And then it continues, the sound is echoing to the ends of the earth, because Yahweh has brought charges against the nations. He will judge all humans. He will kill the wicked, declares Yahweh. This is what Yahweh Tessabot says. Disaster is spreading from nation to nation. A great storm is brewing from the distant corners of the earth. On that day, those killed by Yahweh will stretch from one end of the earth to the other. They will not be mourned, taken away, or buried. They will become like manure on the ground. And so to me, this is an interesting passage where you're like, well, I don't think that's happened. Here at the end of, what it says there, especially, and he's killing all the wicked, because there's still wicked people here. And I do not believe he's judged all humans yet.
Right. The stretch from one end of the earth to the other. Sounds like everyone gets hit there.
Yeah, and it sounds like what you see in Revelation, with the same kind of verbiage about stretching the sky, and all the things that you see there. So.
And then you have to consider too how much of this is, like when he says from one end of the earth to the other, how much of it is wordplay to get the point across that it'll be a lot. We know he does that a lot, where he says, I'll destroy every last one of them, and then there's some left. He's I think he talks that way in Genesis. He talks that way in Deuteronomy and Joshua, things like that. But like he'll say, and all of my Joshua completed all that I asked him to, when later clearly Joshua has some things that still have, like the first verse we read, had some things that he had not been able to get to. But either way, this sounds like a, one end of the earth to the other. It sounds like every nation will be affected by it.
Yeah, it sounds pretty total.
Mourn, you shepherds, and cry, roll in the dust, you leaders of the flock. The time has come for you to be slaughtered. The time has come for you to be scattered, and you will break like fine pottery. There will be no place for the shepherds to flee, no escape for the leaders of the flock. The shepherds are crying, and the leaders of the flock are mourning, because Yahweh is stripping their pasture.
Yeah, and this does sound like something that, has happened, where they've been scattered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we see this happen several times.
Yeah.
This is one of those, it's cyclical, and we can point to several times where this has kind of been a situation.
And we feel like we're in one of these scattering moments, and he's starting to gather up his people.
Right. But the time has come for you to be slaughtered. I guess it depends on where you live right now. I mean, not a whole lot of follower slaughtering, going on in America right now necessarily. But yeah, that kind of depends on where you live.
Yeah, for sure. Then it finishes with peaceful pastures are destroyed by Yahweh's burning anger. He has left his lair like a lion. Their land has been ruined because of the heat of the oppressor, because of the fury of his anger. So definitely not good.
That's all Jeremiah 25, right?
Yep. And then Jeremiah 44:29-30. I will give you this sign, declares Yahweh. I will punish you in this place so that you will know that my threats of disaster will happen to you. This is what Yahweh says. I'm going to hand Pharaoh, Hophra, king of Egypt, over to his enemies and to those who want to kill him, just as I handed over King Zedekiah of Judah to King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon and those who wanted to kill him. So, he's very specifically naming names here.
Yeah, that's interesting. What are the chances, the way he says, when he talks about King David, but he actually means the Messiah, right? So he says, like, I don't have an example off the top of my head, but, David will do this. And really it's talking about Messiah. What are the chances he's doing that here? Assigning Pharaoh Hophra, as a placeholder for someone who's just representative of him later on. Maybe. I think that's slim.
Maybe. Well,
I think he's more, like you said, naming names, though.
But it also, like you said, I think there's a lot of stuff that's cyclical and nothing new. And so could this kind of repeat again? Yeah, I think it could. Because definitely, people believe there's going to be another Nebuchadnezzar because Saddam Hussein thought he was going to be the next Nebuchadnezzar. And he tried to build him a little kingdom kind of like that. So, definitely, I see what you're saying. All right, and then we go into the question we have is this: where were all the prophecies fulfilled in Ezekiel 31 and 32? So let's look at Luke 10:13-14.
How horrible it will be for you, Chorazin! How horrible it will be for you, Bethsaida! If the miracles worked in your cities had been worked in Tyre and Sidon, they would have changed the way they thought and acted. Long ago, they would have worn sackcloth and sat in ashes. Judgment Day will be better for Tyre and Sidon than for you.
Well, that hurts. So that's saying, that's like, this is one of those scriptures where people kind of get the idea of, if something doesn't happen soon, Yah probably owes Sodom and Gomorrah an apology. So it's almost that kind of thing, where it's just it's so crazy, and that these folks would have given the opportunity. They would have repented, and you're so stubborn that you won't, but these guys would have, and they are terrible. So it puts them even lower than that.
Yeah, and so this judgment day for Tyre and Sidon is set in the future from this writing. So all of the events that we had read from Ezekiel haven't quite happened yet, even though some of them have in a cyclical way, but there's a final cycle for it.
And I think some of them, when you look at it, especially when he names names and he says Nebuchadnezzar is going to do this, well, Nebuchadnezzar did.
Right.
And so there are certain things where he names and he tells you, even as we read them, that this is what's going to happen.
And when, right.
But he does seem to go in and out at times of future, like great distant future end times, and then he may come back into more of a present thing. And I think that makes it somewhat challenging when you try to decipher it.
Right.
All right, so we even had to go back and look this one up. So the 7 countries mentioned as part of the seed war: the Assyrians, Egypt, the Chaldeans, the Babylonians, Pekod, Shoah, and Koa. And at first we were like, who, what? Mm-hmm. And this is a direct quote from Ezekiel 23:23. It mentions them like this.
Right.
So, Jake, looks like this one's kind of short here, 39 minutes. And we're coming to the end of Seed War Part 3.
Nice.
So, like we said, we don't claim to be an expert or to know everything there is to know about any of this. We want you to dive in, research it for yourself, think for yourself, study and pray, be Bereans, search the scripture. And if you have comments, please put them in there. We typically release these at 9 a.m. on Shabbats. and we try to be around in the chat and happy to chat and visit with you there. And please leave comments, like, share, subscribe. Please, if you find this video to be impactful, we'd really like you to share it with someone.
Yeah, don't hide your light under a bushel.
That's right. So just hit the little arrow, on the phone, and send a message to somebody you think might like it. And Jake and I aren't doing this. There's no money that is being made off of this. In fact, this cost us money. So we're in the hole.
That's why we need sponsors like Next Level Solutions.
Yeah. So that's right. Nice tie back. So, and I do want to mention also, Sarah Williams has a marketplace, Kahila, and I found somebody that I'm using at work. I want to give a shout out to Madeline. She's a fellow Torah follower, and she is helping us with marketing at my work. And she has a marketing agency. It's Madeline Dunn, and she can be found at Kahila. And she's in that marketplace, and she does website development, social media marketing, all kinds of things. She's forming a team of people that can do that, and she wants to align herself with other people that share these kind of values and keep the money in the community. And when my work needed some help, we started talking, and now she came on full time, and I'm looking forward to seeing great things.
Nice.
So, and it's kind of fun that we know our money's going to somebody that is kingdom centered.
Right.
So, and our company has good values and godly values, and it lines up well. So anyway, it's fun to find connections. And Madeline was one of the people that told me, she felt like we hadn't done a very good job of keeping money in the community. So some other communities really do a good job of keeping the money in the house, so to speak. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, and it's worth doing. So
right. We are not asking for your money.
No. But we like to put you in connection with some people that can help you along the way. And also, while we're on that roll, we like the people at Sanctified Supply Co. They have some great T-shirts. I am a member of their T-shirt of the month club, and I pay them I don't know, like maybe $30 or something, and I get a new T-shirt every month, and that's kind of fun. So if you like that kind of thing and you need a T-shirt, that's a good one to look at. I think I'm done. Right. And those are all free plugs, by the way, shameless free plugs.
Right.
Just things we like.
Exactly. So, yeah. So check out those folks, and it's good to do business with like-minded people, and just community eyes.
Yeah.
Not communize, but
right. And it's nice that, especially when you find services, and especially services where people come into your house and things, you want people you can trust.
Right.
So anyway, we think it's good to consider these things. But as always, we appreciate you being here, and come back for part 4, please.
All right.
Well, one more shameless plug. You have to listen to Compound Interest podcast.
That's right.
So that's a good one to check out. We're very fond of those ladies. So, all right. Well, we appreciate it. And this is Matt
and Jake
signing out. If I can get to the end button.
I think you have to go to the left.
You have to go left to go right?
Yeah. There you go.
All right. There we go.
Nailed it.